That was the legend. Every spacer in the human colonies knew it. But for Arya Vance, it was not just a story from old records. It was the memory of the last day she saw Commander Elias Rowe. Elias had been her mentor, her closest friend, and one person she trusted completely. Together, they had served on the Horizon Spear during its early years. They had laughed in the mess hall, argued over star charts, and stood shoulder to shoulder during pirate raids. Arya thought they would always serve together. But then, 2 years ago, Elias was transferred to a far colony on the edge of human space. One day he was there, walking beside her on the bridge. The next, he was just a name in a distant fleet registry dot at first. They sent messages every week. He told her about the new crew, the slow life on a frontier station, the quiet beauty of the stars. She told him about patrols, training exercises, and the stubborn old engineers who never listened. But over time, the messages grew fewer. She would write a long report of her day, then wait weeks for a short reply. He was busy. She understood. Still, the empty inbox felt like a hollow in her chest. Now, months had passed without a single word. Arya sat alone in her quarters, staring at the small holoprojector on her desk. It showed a frozen image. Elias smiling, holding a cup of tea, the background filled with the silver glow of a distant nebula. She reached out, touching the air where his shoulder was. It was only light and memory. She told herself she shouldn't care so much. People moved on. Ships were reassigned. It was part of life in space. But some nights, she felt like she was drifting too floating away from the people who mattered. That feeling was heavy tonight. Outside her viewport, the stars were sharp and bright, scattered like silver dust across the black. Somewhere out there, Elias was under the same sky. Did he ever think of her? Did he miss her at all? Her console beeped. A new message. Her heart jumped until she saw it wasn't from Elias. It was from Command. A red priority signal. She tapped the screen, and a calm, automated voice spoke. All available vessels, report to coordinates 379. Hostile fleet detected. Civilian colony at risk. Arya's fingers tightened on the console. Those coordinates, she knew them. It was the same sector where Elias had been stationed. Her mind raced. The message gave no details, no names, no ship designations. For all she knew, he might not even be there anymore. But the thought of him in danger pushed away every other feeling. She raced to the bridge. Her crew was already in motion, responding to the alert. They were a small patrol frigate, fast but lightly armed. Against an entire hostile fleet, they would be almost useless. Almost. We're going, Arya said firmly, strapping into her seat. The helmsman glanced at her. Captain, that's a war zone. Then they'll need every ship they can get. The Horizon Spear now, under her command, jumped to 5th TL. The stars stretched into white lines, then melted into the swirling blue tunnel of faster-than-light travel. During the jump, Arya's thoughts wouldn't settle. She remembered Elias's laugh, his steady voice in chaos, the way he never gave up when the odds looked bad. If he was still out there, he would fight until the very end. And if he had no one at his side, she would be the one to stand there. The ship dropped out of FTL, and chaos filled the VIEWSCREEN. An entire alien armada blotted out the stars. Dozens of warships surrounding a single human cruiser. Her breath caught. That cruiser, she knew its profile. The same curves of the hull, the same scar on its port side from a meteor strike years ago. It was his ship. Elias, she whispered. The aliens fired, blue beams slicing through space. The human cruiser's shields flared, barely holding. Arya's crew looked to her for orders. She took a deep breath. She didn't have the firepower to destroy that fleet. But she had something else, human stubbornness. "All engines ahead," she ordered. "Target their sensor relays. Blind them." The Horizon's spear darted forward like a hunting hawk. Railguns barked, shredding alien comms arrays. Missiles screamed toward engine clusters. The alien formation wavered, ships turning to face this new, unexpected attacker. Elias's cruiser seized the opening, diving through the gap Arya had made. Together, the two human ships wove through the enemy lines, striking fast and vanishing into debris clouds. Hours passed like seconds. Arya didn't think about the odds, the danger, or her fear of losing him again. She only thought about keeping him alive, keeping them both alive. Finally, with half their ships disabled and their flagship burning, the alien fleet broke and fled. The battlefield fell silent, wreckage drifting between the stars. Arya's screen flickered to life. Elias's face appeared older, tired, but smiling just like in the picture on her desk. "You always had terrible timing," he said, voice warm. She laughed, relief flooding her. "And you always needed saving." He shook his head. "We'll call it even." In that moment, the distance of years seemed to vanish. They had fought side by side again, and no space, no silence, could erase that bond. Later, historians would write about the battle. They would speak of courage, tactics, and the impossible victory. But for Arya, the truth was simpler. He battle was over, but the silence that followed felt heavier than the sound of enemy guns. The Horizon's spear floated among the drifting wrecks of alien ships. Fires burned in the distance, slowly dying in the vacuum. Arya sat in the captain's chair, her eyes fixed on the cruiser ahead. Elias's ship, the com link between them, had gone dead after his brief smile and words in the heat of victory. She wanted to talk to him, to ask everything she had missed in the years apart. But now that the moment had come, she didn't know how to start. They had fought together like no time had passed. But in truth, a lot had. Her crew worked around her, repairing shield emitters, patching hull damage, checking power lines. The bridge was alive with quiet voices and the hum of machinery. Yet in Arya's mind, it was too quiet. She remembered the last time. She and Elias had been alone, sitting in the observation deck with mugs of tea, watching a comet pass. He had spoken about wanting to explore deep space, to see things no one else had seen. She had laughed and told him she would keep the seat warm for him until he came back. And then, he hadn't. The console beeped, breaking her thoughts. A signal encrypted. Fleet-level clearance. It was from Elias's ship. She hesitated before accepting. His voice came through, steady but softer than before. "Arya, you still there?" She smiled faintly. "I was waiting for you to say something first." There was a pause. "I didn't know if you'd want me to." Her brow furrowed. "Why wouldn't I?" "Because I left," he said quietly. "And when I stopped writing, it wasn't because I didn't care. I just didn't know how to talk anymore. Out here, every day was the same. I felt like I was fading into the stars." Arya leaned back, staring at the dark beyond the viewport. She understood more than she wanted to admit. The emptiness of space could make a person feel small, even when surrounded by a crew. "You could have told me," she said. "I know," he replied. "And I should have. But then this battle happened, and I realized I didn't want to disappear without at least fighting for something again." They fell silent, listening to the faint crackle of the comm line. Outside, the stars seemed brighter, as if they too were listening. A sudden ping from Tactical cut through the quiet. "Captain," the helmsman called, long-range sensors picking up a new contact. "Small craft, no transponder. Looks like a scout." Arya's mind sharpened. "Alien? No positive ID, but the design matches their tech." Her eyes met Elias's face on the screen. He gave a small nod. "They're not done yet." She straightened in her chair. "Then neither are we." Hours later, the two ships ran side by side through open space, scanning for enemy movement. The wreckage from the earlier battle was behind them, but the threat still lingered ahead. Arya wanted to say more to Elias, to bridge the gap the years had made, but duty kept interrupting. They passed coordinates, analyzed sensor feeds, adjusted attack plans. All business. No room for the words she really wanted to speak. Finally, during a brief moment of calm, she asked, "Elias, when this is over, will you stay in touch this time?" He glanced at her through the grainy com feed. "I will, if you still want me to." She laughed softly. "Of course I want you to." His expression softened. "Then maybe I'll visit your sector, or you could visit mine." The thought made her chest feel lighter. We'll see who gets there first. But the moment didn't last. Sensors screamed an alarm. Dozens of new signals were appearing on the edge of the system. Not a scout, not a patrol. A whole second wave. Elias's voice was steady, but she could hear the tension under it. They must have been hiding in the asteroid field, waiting for us to relax. Arya's crew scrambled to battle stations. She locked eyes with him through the flickering feed. "We take the first strike together. Make them think we're stronger than we are." He nodded. "Just like old times." The alien ships broke formation, rushing forward like a swarm of shadows. Arya's frigate spun into position, railguns firing bright streaks of light into the dark. Elias's cruiser moved with perfect coordination, striking targets she couldn't reach. Her heart raced, not just from the danger, but from the knowledge that despite the distance, despite the years apart, they still fought as one dot in that unity. She felt something human and unshakable. The enemy had numbers. They had firepower. But humans had each other, and that was enough to make them dangerous. The battle raged on. And somewhere between missile barrages and evasive, the enemy had retreated for now, but the Horizon Spear and Elias's cruiser were far from safe. The battle had left both ships damaged, shields flickering and engines overheating. Yet the brief victory gave Arya a strange sense of calm. Leaned on the rail of the bridge, staring at the glittering stars. Somewhere out there, countless ships of the alien fleet were regrouping, planning their next strike. But right now, she and Elias were alive, and for the first time in months. She felt that the distance between them had narrowed. Her com screen flickered, and Elias appeared, adjusting his uniform, his eyes tired but alert. "We need to coordinate." "Repairs," he said. "Otherwise the next wave will tear us apart." Arya nodded. "We'll manage. We always do." She felt the weight of the years apart, missed birthdays, lost reports, empty corridors on stations. But she also felt the fire that had always made humans strong, the ability to keep going, to fight when the odds were impossible, and to hope even when hope seemed foolish. Over the next hours, they moved their ships like dancers through a deadly ballet. Asteroids, derelict satellites, and drifting debris became shields and obstacles. Arya's crew worked frantically, patching engines, rerouting power, and repairing weapon arrays. Elias's cruiser mirrored their movements, striking key targets while dodging attacks. Even without speaking much, their coordination was perfect. They had trained together for years, and that experience now became a silent bridge between them. Yet, in quiet moments, Arya felt the ache of distance again. During a brief lull in the chaos, she sent a private message to him. "I missed this. I missed you. I don't want to drift apart again." The reply came quickly. "I missed you too. I was afraid you wouldn't care anymore." Her chest tightened. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of years. She wanted to reply, to tell him that no matter how far apart they had been, she had always remembered. But before she could, The alarm screamed. The alien fleet was back. Not a scout this time, but the main line. Dozens of massive ships glided toward them like giants awakened from sleep. Elias's voice came through the com, steady but tense. We can't outrun them. We need a plan. Arya felt the fear rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. Humans had survived worse. She had survived worse. And she would protect him, even if it meant risking everything. Listen, she said, rallying her crew. We don't need to destroy them all. We just need to make them think we're stronger than we are. Use the asteroids, use debris. Hit their engines, then disappear. Confuse them. Her crew followed her orders with precision. Railguns fired missiles, streaked across space, and the ships weaved through the debris field like predators in a dense forest. Every shot that landed, every evasive maneuver, was a reminder. Humans were small, but they were clever. They adapted. They survived. Elias mirrored her tactics perfectly. Each time an enemy ship tried to flank her, he cut it off. Each time she drew fire away from his cruiser, he returned the favor. For the first time in months, Arya felt the distance between them shrink, not just physically, but emotionally. The years apart, the empty messages, the quiet longing, they all faded in the heat of shared purpose. Hours passed. Exhaustion weighed heavily, but the human ships endured. One by one, enemy ships were disabled, engines crippled, systems overloaded. The alien fleet did not expect such resistance from just 2 human vessels. And yet, even as the immediate danger passed, Arya knew the battle was not over. The alien forces were vast, and the humans were few. They needed a bigger plan, and fast. She turned to Elias on the com screen. His eyes met hers, and she saw something she hadn't dared to hope for before: determination. The same spark that had drawn her to him as a cadet was alive and strong. Next time, he said quietly, we'll need reinforcements, but we'll make it through. We always do. Arya smiled, feeling a warmth that no battle could erase. We'll make it through together. That night, the stars outside their ships shone bright. The alien fleet had retreated beyond sensors, but Arya and Elias remained on high alert. Yet for the first time, the distance between them felt smaller than the empty void around them. They spoke quietly, sharing memories, laughing at old mistakes, and promising not to let the years apart happen again. It was simple human connection, but it carried the weight of everything they had lost and everything they had survived, even in the vast darkness of space. Even against overwhelming odds, they remembered what it meant to fight for each other, to hope, to care, to reach across the distance that once separated them. And in that quiet moment, among the scattered stars and drifting debris, Arya knew something profound. Humans were never truly alone. They carried each other in their courage, in their hearts, and in their determination to survive. Arya Vance sat in the captain's chair of the Horizon Spear, staring at the holographic display of the asteroid field ahead. The alien fleet had disappeared from sensors, but she knew better than to trust the silence. They were too cunning to retreat completely after 2 defeats. Elias Rowe's cruiser hovered beside her ship on the com feed, engines glowing faintly. He looked tense, his hand hovering over the controls. Something's off, he said. They're too quiet, too controlled. They must be planning something. Arya's lips tightened. Then we need to be ready. Whatever they do, we won't be caught off guard. Her crew moved like a single organism, preparing the ship for anything. Shields were rerouted to reinforce vulnerable areas. Power was carefully balanced between engines and weapons, and tactical officers plotted escape routes through the dense asteroid belt ahead. Arya's heart still felt heavy, not from the looming threat, but from the memory of years spent apart from Elias. They had grown distant over time. not because of lack of care, but because space and duty had stretched their lives in opposite directions. And now, finally reunited, she feared losing him again, this time to the enemy. "Captain," the helmsman called. "Sensor sweep shows multiple contacts hidden behind the asteroids." "Looks like a trap," she nodded. "Exactly what I expected. Prepare evasive maneuvers and target their engines first. We can't let them surround us." Elias's voice came over the calm but firm. "We'll take the left flank. You? Cover the right. Timing will be everything." They exchanged a brief nod through the screen years of friendship and training, compressed into a silent understanding. The first wave of alien ships emerged suddenly, weaving between the massive rocks of the asteroid belt. They were faster and smarter than before, anticipating the humans' maneuvers. Missiles screamed past the Horizon Spear, and her crew responded with precision. Railguns flared, tearing through alien shields. Elias's cruiser moved like a shadow beside her, striking key targets with deadly accuracy. Together, they were small, but coordinated. Still, Arya felt the fear in her chest, the distant ache she had carried for years. She wanted to speak to him, to bridge the gap fully, but duty demanded focus. Every shot missed, every near collision, reminded her of what was at stake. Finally, in a quiet moment amid the chaos, she sent a short message across the private comm line. "I don't want to lose you again." "Not like before." The reply came almost immediately. "You won't. We're in this together, always." Her chest tightened, and for a moment, the fear faded. Humans could survive impossible odds, not because of firepower, but because of courage, cleverness, and connection. She felt the old spark of hope ignite. The alien fleet pressed their attack, but Arya had a plan. Using the asteroids as cover, she lured a group of smaller ships into a narrow passage. Hidden mines and debris fields made the path lethal. "Now!" she shouted. The crew launched the trap. Explosions rocked the void as the alien ships collided with debris or detonated the hidden charges. Elias followed her lead perfectly, taking down the enemy's flanks while avoiding the hazards she had set. Their coordination reminded Arya of why she had trusted him for so many years, and why distance and time had never fully broken that bond. Hours passed in a tense dance of attack and evasion. Both ships were damaged, shields flickering, but they had slowed the enemy advance significantly. Finally, the enemy flagship appeared, a massive ship larger than anything they had faced before. Its engines flared, weapons charging. The alien admiral's strategy was clear. Lure the humans into the heart of the asteroid, field and crush them. Elias's voice came through the comm, calm but intense. "They're heading straight for us. We have to act now." Arya nodded, heart pounding. "We'll need to split their focus, draw them into the rocks, and strike at the engines." The two human ships moved in perfect unison, weaving through the asteroid belt with precision. Every movement was calculated, every shot timed. The enemy flagship followed blindly, its massive size making it clumsy among the rocks. Then, Arya saw an opening, a narrow corridor lined with large asteroids. She signaled Elias. He understood immediately, and together they led the alien flagship into the trap. Missiles streaked from both ships, targeting weak points in the enemy engines. The massive ship faltered, colliding with asteroids and losing control. Smaller enemy ships panicked, breaking formation. Arya felt a surge of pride, not just in her crew, but in herself and Elias. Despite years of separation, they had fought together flawlessly. Despite the distance, their connection had remained strong. After the battle, the Horizon Spear and Elias's cruiser drifted among the wreckage, both badly damaged, but the silence after the last battle was deceptive. The alien fleet had vanished for now, but Arya Vance knew it was only temporary. The enemy was smart, patient, and relentless. And somewhere deep inside, she knew they were preparing a final strike. Beside her, Elias Rose cruiser glided through space, engines humming. The two ships remained close, not just for tactical advantage, but because neither wanted to be truly alone again. Arya leaned on the rail of the bridge, looking at him through the com screen. Do you think they'll try another attack soon? Elias shook his head, though the tension in his eyes betrayed him. They'll wait for us to make a mistake. They'll try to trap us again. But we've survived this far. We can survive more. Her chest tightened. They had survived together before, yet the years apart made every moment feel fragile. She had wanted to reconnect for so long, but space had always kept them distant. Now, facing impossible odds, she realized reconnection was not just about words, it was about trust, action, and shared survival. Her sensors suddenly beeped loudly. Hundreds of contacts appeared at the edge of the system. They're coming, she whispered. Her hands moved quickly over the console. We need a plan. Fast. Elias's face appeared beside her on the comm. We can't outrun them, and we can't fight them head-on. But we can use what we know. Our environment, our speed, our cunning. Let's make them pay for every mistake. She nodded. The Horizon spear was small, but humans had something the aliens did not. Ingenuity. They had survived impossible odds before, not through sheer power, but by thinking differently. Prepare the asteroid field ahead, she ordered. We'll lure them in, and we'll divide their fleet, hit their engines, then disappear. The crew responded like a single organism. Shields were rerouted, weapons locked, engines ready. Every human on board understood the stakes, not just survival, but the chance to protect each other. The first wave of the returning fleet emerged from the darkness, massive warships moving with deadly precision. But Arya and Elias were ready. Using the asteroids as cover, they weaved through the field, firing calculated shots to disable key enemy engines. Elias's cruiser moved like an extension of her own ship, striking flanks, pulling attention away from her. For the first time in months, the years of distance between them felt insignificant. They were synchronized, thinking in the same rhythm, trusting each other completely. During a brief lull, Arya sent him a quick message across the private comm. I'm glad you're here. After everything, I didn't think we'd ever find this again. He replied almost immediately. Neither did I, but here we are. Together. Her chest warmed at the simple words. Humans were resilient, but humans were also capable of rebuilding. Connections lost over time. That human hope, was as strong as any weapon they carried. The battle raged on. Missiles streaked across space, lasers tore through shields, and debris from the previous fights littered the asteroid field. Yet, Arya's crew never wavered. Each move was calculated, each shot precise. Elias's voice came over the comm, steady and confident. Arya, take the left flank. I'll draw their attention from the right. She smiled faintly. Years apart had not dulled their teamwork. They had grown distant, yes, but distance could not erase years of shared experience, trust, and loyalty. The alien ships pressed forward. The two human ships danced through the asteroids, striking at engines, cutting off supply lines, and disappearing before the enemy could respond. It was exhausting work, but it was working. Hours passed, and the enemy began to falter. Their formations broke, smaller ships drifting aimlessly as their flagships struggled to maintain control. Arya's heart raced not from fear, but from exhilaration. Humans were small, fragile, and limited in resources, yet they had survived against overwhelming odds. She glanced at Elias on the comm. He gave her a small, tired smile. We're not done yet, he said. But we're close. One more push. Her fingers tightened on the controls. Then let's finish this. The final push was daring. Arya led a group of enemy ships into a narrow corridor lined with massive asteroids. Using precise timing, she and her crew disabled the lead ship's engines, causing them to collide with the rocks. The rest of the fleet hesitated, confused and scattered. Elias followed perfectly, targeting the enemy flagship's weak points. Together, they struck with efficiency and courage that no alien force could match. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the remaining enemy ships retreated. The field was littered with debris, but the humans had survived. Both the Horizon Spear and Elias's cruiser were battered, yet intact. Arya exhaled, leaning back in her chair. She sent a message to Elias, feeling a smile spread across her. "Face, we did it, together." His reply came almost instantly. "We always do. Distance doesn't matter. We just needed to remember." The stars outside the viewport seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the victory not just of a battle, but of human resilience, hope, and connection. Arya realized that humans survived because they adapted, because they never gave up, and because they could reconnect, no matter how far apart they drifted. The bond she and Elias shared had endured time, distance, and danger, and now it was stronger than ever. One human ship defeated an entire fleet, and the stars still tell its tale. It was not just a story of battle. It was a story of hope, of reconnection, and of the human spirit, the ability to overcome distance, danger, and despair to reach what truly mattered. Asterisk, the alien fleet was in retreat, but the flagship remained. Its massive silhouette loomed at the edge of sensors, engines glowing ominously. It had been damaged in the previous skirmishes, but not enough to stop it from striking again. Arya Vance gripped the edge of the captain's console, heart pounding. "It's the flagship. They'll try to finish us off." Elias's face appeared on the comm, grim but determined. "We've survived this long. We can survive this too." She nodded. Years of distance, months of silence, and countless missed moments. All of it faded in the urgency of the present. In this moment, nothing mattered more than trust and coordination. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "We'll make them fight for every meter of space." The flagship fired first. Massive energy beams tore through the void, narrowly, missing the Horizon Spear. Arya's crew responded instantly, weaving between debris and asteroid fragments. Every move was precise, every action deliberate. Beside her, Elias mirrored her maneuvers, his cruiser weaving like a shadow. They spoke little, only through commands and signals, but their coordination was flawless. Years of training and friendship, compressed into instinctive action. Yet even as the adrenaline surged, Arya felt a familiar ache, the distance of the past. She wanted to speak to him, to bridge the gap fully, but words were impossible amidst the chaos. She could only hope that he felt what she felt, that despite the years apart, they were connected. The flagship pressed closer, its weapon systems locking on. Arya realized that a direct fight would be suicide. They needed a gamble, Elias. She said over the private comm, "I have an idea, but it's risky. We'll have to lure it into the asteroid field and hit its engines simultaneously." He didn't hesitate. "Let's do it. Together." She felt a surge of warmth at his words. Together. It was simple but powerful. Humans survived because they trusted each other, because they acted with courage, and because they never gave up, even when the odds seemed impossible. They led the flagship into the dense asteroid field. Its massive size made it slow, clumsy, and predictable. Arya and Elias used every ounce of their ship's agility, darting between rocks, striking weak points, and disappearing before the flagship could respond. Missiles streaked through the void, hitting engines, shields, and weapon arrays. Explosions lit up the darkness like fireworks. illuminating the determination of two human crews fighting against overwhelming odds. In a brief lull, Arya sent Elias a message. "I never thought we'd find each other again like this." His reply came immediately. "I knew we would. Humans always find a way." The simple truth of it made her smile, even amidst the chaos. Humans survived not because they were the strongest, but because they adapted, hoped, and held on to each other. The flagship faltered. Its engines sputtered, shields flickered, and smaller ships scattered in confusion. Arya saw the opportunity. "Full throttle," she shouted. "Elias, cover me." They darted through the remaining enemy formations, striking with precision. The flagship attempted a ram, but Arya executed a daring sideburn maneuver narrowly, avoiding collision. The alien ship slammed into a massive asteroid, cracking its hull and leaving it dead in space. Elias's cruiser fired the final salvo, crippling its weapon systems. The remaining enemy ships, leaderless and demoralized, began retreating in disarray. After the battle, both human ships floated among the wreckage, battered but alive. Arya slumped in her chair, exhaustion and relief washing over her. She sent Elias a private message. "We did it. We survived. Together." His reply made her chest tighten. "We always do. Distance doesn't matter when we fight side by side." 4. The first time in years, the ache of separation felt irrelevant. They had been apart for too long, but in the crucible of battle, they had found each other again. Trust, courage, and connection had bridged the distance. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, scattered like silver dust across the blackness. This was what humans did. They adapted, they endured, and they found hope even in the darkest moments. Arya realized something.